everyone, it's Michelle from Tape and Twine. I had a brainstorm last night, so much so that I just started working at like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm now sort of very motivated to continue, but I decided to turn on the camera because if this works out, I don't want to have to go back and remake my video. So I thought, hey, let's turn it on and see what happens. What's the worst that can happen? You'll never see this. And the best that can happen, this ends up being a good thing, and then I can share it with you. So I'm a mom of 2 boys, and I've been purging since one's at college and one moved out. And like a lot of moms, I have these board books, and I'm donating a lot of them. But I started looking at them. What did I like about them? They were heavy chipboard. They lay flat. And I thought they might be perfect little books for collaging. Not so much for junk journaling, but a place to make our pretty little collages that maybe we just want to have a really pretty book to have on our bookshelf, or a place to put our best work in, kind of like a little view book. So I made this cover last night, and because I've been pressing a lot of fall leaves, and I thought it might be fun to have a foliage view book where I get to put projects and collages in, and maybe put it out in the fall. Now, I love, love, love how the cover turned out. It's very hard, and it's not completely done. Like I could put on a book plate or some kind of face plate. I don't know. I haven't finished the cover that much yet, but the actual cover itself is covered now, and I just really love how it came out. And who would have known that this pretty little book is Hop on Pop? Crazy, right? But look at the size. This is like a perfect size for a collage, and each one lays flat. So you could do 2 collages, or you could have this whole nice space. Sorry for my light reflecting in there. So let's work together on making a board book into a art book, shall we? So I brought this little one just so that you could see the process, because this one's already done. So these little books have this really shiny cover, and that is not going to be good to glue on. I mean, I suppose you could glue on it, but it's not going to take as well as something without glue. So I'm going to switch to voiceover mode and speed this up. That way I'm saving everyone's ears from this sanding noise, and you don't have to suffer through the time it takes to scuff up a cover. And all we're doing is scuffing up the front and back cover in order to give the gesso a place to adhere to. I'll dust it off and we'll get going. And my thought was, so this is a little leaf I was working on, which is sort of the inspiration for this. I backed this leaf onto paper, and I put some gold edging on it, and then I dyed it, and I thought, wouldn't this look pretty on a cover? Or wouldn't this look cute in a collage? And that's what this turned into, a little foliage view book where I'll work with some of my more natural materials. But I thought this one is absolutely perfect as like a little view book for my favorite stamps. Because as I'm doing collages and I'm going through my stamps, sometime I'll find one that I just think is so beautiful. And how cute would it be just to have a little postage collage on all of these, and some cute little tag down the back that said stamps. So this is going to be a stamp view book, and this is going to be sort of a natural leaf view book. So now that we've scuffed this up, I'm going to turn it on I'm going to put it flat on my work table, and I'm going to paint some gesso on it. So I'm using Liquitex Professional Gesso. It's a surface preparation gesso, so it's going to have that sort of like a little bit of tooth to it so that things can definitely stick to it. I really needed to make sure that all that sanded paper I blew away because it's going to get my gesso. And the first coat is really just the first coat. You're not going to cover too much. You're just giving it a place to adhere. And because gesso, I believe, is acrylic, it dries super quick. And this is one of those projects that, well, especially if you had a little heat gun, you could move pretty quickly with. And this is all I did to this book as well, is I just sanded it and then prepped the cover. And I'm now painting the spine like that. And now that's going to dry. And then when it dries, we will put in the second coat. Okay, so first coat is dry, and as you can see a lot through it. It's not really hiding too much, and I did not get the side of there, but that's okay. So now the second coat, I want to come in and go the opposite direction on the book. Oops, sorry about that, guys. And as you can see, it's already like a lot more, like it's not as translucent anymore. So here's the question. For me, that last cover was all napkins, and I really like the napkin effect. So for napkins, I think this is probably, and see, I keep going back and forth with as light a touch as I can, just so that there's not major streaks, but this is good enough for like napkins. You can't really see much through it, and when it dries, it's going to be great to adhere a napkin to. If you wanted to glue something to it, obviously, if you want to glue something to it, you could probably do it after the first stage, because now there's something for that glue to attach to. You know, you might as well not waste your gesso. Or if you're going to do like a collage on the front, then you have to just decide how much is you know, okay for you to see through. You might not see any of the back, so you see that? You can still see a little bit, but it's very minor. So that's our second coat. While that is drying, I'm going to move that over here. I'm going to take a sanding block, and I'm going to sand the second page of my Pop on Pop, the inside cover, which I'm just going to glue some paper to, so I just need to make sure I have enough, you know, down there. And then I'm going to do the next page over, which I'm going to do off camera so I don't get the dust next to my drying project. And you can see how it's all kind of mucked up. So what I want to do is I'm going to gesso this page, just like I gessoed the other one. I might put just a little gesso right here just to have something for the glue to grab, but I'm not going to worry too much about coverage on this page. And again, that first coat can be thin. You're just trying to get the page covered. And let's say you were doing gesso on a book. Actually, I said I wasn't going to do this page, but the reason why I'm doing it more is I don't want bumps if I use something thin. Okay. So let's say this was a really pretty background. You can see how one layer of gesso would really just make it a little bit opaque, but still transparent enough to see. Great for layering. So then I'm going to do this side at the same time because I want to I want this project to move forward. And I'm going to use a little trick that I learned from Miss Colleen Atara when I took one of her workshops. Maybe it wouldn't work for a book that you're trying to get perfection on, but when you're doing an art type of a situation, an art journal where you're just going to be collaging and doing layers, it will work fine. Let me just get this page and then I'll show you. Okay. Now, with a board book, with a board book, one of the greatest parts of this is you can stand it up to dry. So I actually could do multiple pages and let it dry. But if this was a regular book, you can take clips. And once the edge is dry, you can put clips along the edge and it will keep the pages separated enough to have airflow. But in this case, because it's a board book, we can let it dry. So I'm just going to let this dry now. Okay, now that this is dry, I could start working on the cover. But again, I'm just sort of making this project up as I go along, and I realized with the bigger book, it's easier if you just go through and do all the scuffing all at once. So that's what I did off camera before I came back on, is I took a sanding block. This is the one I have. I didn't take off this so I could remember what course it was. And I just basically just scuffed up the whole book. And the reason I realized that's what I want to do before I start the cover is because I can actually paint all the pages and then leave it out to dry just like that. And then I can do the cover and it'll be ready to go. So I'm going to do that part right now. I will put on music and speed it up so you don't have to suffer through me painting each page. But let me do that and then we can move on to the rest of the project once I'm done. And there we go. I'm a little bit messy, but no other project except a board book could you do all the pages and have them dry all at once and not have to worry about them touching each other. What I'll end up doing is I'll end up painting the bottom of those pages after. I mean, I don't want it to stick to the paper that I have underneath it, but this is basically now 2 or 3 coats on the cover, and then each page has enough gesso to have tooth. And basically when you work in the book, you could then put another coat on, or that's enough for you to glue to. So I'll have to decide if I want to put a second coat on the inside pages, but that's where I'm at right now.